Welcome to this episode of the Catalyst Podcast, The Quiet Compass, a 5-second superpower alignment technique. This episode is for you if you might be like me. When you get a decision that is made aware in your presence, it somehow gets locked and loaded into this imaginary brain machine of yours where it goes along a conveyor belt. And then along that conveyor belt, you might have other little baby decisions and questions pop up like, well, which is the right decision I should make? Or what should I do? Who will be disappointed? Is this even necessary? Can it wait? How will this affect my future? This is a common problem in healthcare practitioners because we're trained to be very good at analyzing situations that are complex. We drive that decision to help patients understand their health and their physiology. We might be synthesizing lab tests, creating a long differential diagnosis list, and we're priding ourselves on this wisdom that we have developed over years of training to be able to deliver medicine. But see, this is a top-down phenomenon, right? Very important. It's cognitively demanding and it's analyzing and thinking through these on a logical way. But what we forget and what is undertrained in our medical field is the bottom-up processing of making a decision, where you rely on your body, your emotions, your interoception inside to give you information on which of the decisions might feel right for you. That's the art of medicine that we don't talk about often. And it's the art of medicine that not only helps your patient get healthier, but helps you continue to stay aligned with your own purpose, your values, and your mission. And that's what we're here to talk about today. At the end of this episode, I'm going to teach you the 5-second technique that I use. But first, let's talk about why this works. And we'll start with a story. I live in Monroe, Wisconsin, a beautiful community with Swiss heritage, and they're known for celebrating cheese. They're also known for the tight-knit community that has a lot of opportunities for community events like live music in our downtown square. We have a arts and culture, theater, dancing, disc golf, YMCA. There's so many things in this community. It's a very Norman Rockwell feel. And one place that I remember learning about first was the Women's Club of Monroe. Now, this club has been around for decades, and it is really the glue of the community, in my opinion, because the Women's Club of Monroe have women of all ages coming together and serving, giving back to the community in really unique and thoughtful ways. For example, at Christmas time, they shop for needy families that might need some extra help around the holidays. They call it the stocking stuffer program. And then they also will do things like potting the plants around our beautiful square to make it look amazing. They do a lot of other things, but I also remember being invited to their annual dinner. This is something they do every year, not just to come together for community and fellowship, but also to invite other new members. And several years ago, I was invited by a neighbor, a friend of mine, who did this every year. She's an avid member of the Monroe Women's Club. Naturally, I said yes. That sounded like fun. Sounded like something that aligned with my values. And unfortunately, that was a decision made when I had a lot of sleep and I felt extroverted. But then when the date came, I was faced with a decision. I really didn't feel like going. My body was tired. I was hearing and listening and sensing in my body a deep bone aching fatigue. My day in family practice at that time had been so busy. We had unexpected emergencies to deal with. Not to mention, I was still juggling a relatively new child, the third in our group of 3 children. And my husband was also working as a physician. So we were sort of like ships passing in the night. And like I mentioned at the top of this podcast, I felt that decision. Do I stay? Do I go? Went right into that imaginary brain machine. I had all those thoughts. Well, what are they going to say? What should I do? What's the right decision? That's top-down processing. And thankfully, my body was loud enough that I listened to my bottom-up processing in the moment. And I thought, nope, I just don't have it in me. So I made the decision to phone my friend and I said, I thought I had enough energy saved up for this event, but it's a Thursday night and I am fatigued. I'm tired. My day went sideways and I'm going to have to cancel. And guess what? The world didn't fall apart. She said, thank you for letting me know that you're taking care of yourself. And onward I went. Now, at that time, I didn't have this technique. I didn't know that that's what I was doing. But now, after studying with the Flow Research Collective and Polyvagal Institute and all these places that are really uncovering the commonality, the neuroscience behind flow, behind the vagus nerve, behind your limbic system, and this wise feeling of bottom up knowledge and wisdom, I have more clarity on why this works. So let's talk first about the neuroscience behind this. So again, we talk about top down versus bottom up. Top down can make us feel almost paralyzed because if we're really good at analyzing all this complexity in a healthcare system, when it comes to your personal life, you can sometimes sit there and think, okay, I'm going to do a pros and cons list, and we're going to count up and rate the importance of everything. And yeah, that's alluring and makes you, feel like you're making some progress in a decision. But really, the neurological basis of feeling aligned with your life's path comes from bottom up. And so that is the role of that default mode network. When we engage in these introspective practices like interoception, feeling how you feel, looking for that emotional address of where that lives in the body. For example, if I'm feeling frustrated, it might feel like a choking sensation in my throat. Or if I'm feeling sad, it's a heaviness in my chest. If I'm feeling nervous, it's a butterfly feeling in my abdomen. Whatever that feels to you, practicing those gentle awareness techniques is huge because the default mode network, it helps us access those memories and aligns those emotions and our sense of self. And it gives us this extra superpower skill to creatively problem solve when we might feel like we don't know what the answer is. We really do if we just tap into that default mode network. That's also what comes alive in flow. Flow is that only time that you produce all 5 neurochemicals of happiness when you're tuned into your senses and you might lose track of time, your ego dissolves. It is that magic that we can feel whether you're painting or surfing or playing a pickup game of basketball. Flow is essential to human life. It is our 6th vital sign. And so in our brain, we also have the insula, which is a region associated with the awareness of your internal states, like your gut feelings, right? Or your intuitive reactions. As a healthcare practitioner, we're trained to ignore these important parts of our sensation and our awareness, our experience. We're taught to think things critically, logically analyze, and make a decision based on evidence-based science, but we're missing the art. The art of medicine is just as important. And so studies show that, your intuition often can interact with that stored knowledge and your experiences much faster than a conscious thought process can. That's a study by Dane and Pratt in 2007. And so these are the essential magic features that this 5-second quiet compass can do for you. When you have improved decision making and you practice this over and over again, you get better, quicker, more efficient, and more confident in making these decisions, or at least listening to that little whisper of intuition that might be saying, what about this? Right? So we've had patients walk into our exam room where by all means on paper, everything seemed okay, but there was just something about their energy and their presence that made you pause. That is your default mode network. That is your inner wise muse. That is what we're tapping into to create this 5-second compass check for you. And that's what everybody needs to tune up and really strengthen, because that is what we deserve as health practitioners. When we go too far down the road of overanalyzing and top-down processes, we end up burned out, stressed out, overworked, and running on emotional fumes, right? We barely have the bandwidth to participate fully in our work or life masterpiece that we're trying to build. And why did we sign up for a career that ended up in burnout? You can pedal back. This is one piece of it. Pedaling back to reclaim what you deserve, which is to be self-expressive in your own unique healing style that you bring to your exam room so that you transform patient lives without burning out. That's what we need, right? And so this is about connecting into your parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is that rest. It's the brake, whereas the sympathetic nervous system is the accelerator, right? So the vagus nerve is huge in this, right? And this is important because as you practice some of these downshifting techniques, we've all heard of them, meditation, yoga, tai chi, etc. They're important, yes. But you can't break out a downward dog in the middle of the grocery aisle when you've got a decision to make, or you're in the patient's exam room, or you're faced with something even as small as whether you go to the women's club dinner or not. We need something quicker. And this can be epitomized by a quote that I saw the other day. I picked it up. I had to have it for my exam room. And it's a little plaque I found at an art fair, very colorful, with flowers and hand-painted pieces of all the rainbow colors. And the simple quote was, "Run towards your joy." That's exactly what this 5-second quiet compass does. It helps you tap in and figure out, where is that joy? Where's that path? And this might sound a little kooky, but it's really grounded in neuroscience. So let's walk through the concept and the practice of tapping in to your quiet compass. It only takes 5 minutes to learn. Did you know that burnout is the same brainwave pattern as grief under a functional MRI? This means that 63% of us in healthcare are showing up to work every day immersed in burnout and grief. No wonder we have brain fog and emotional exhaustion and depersonalization. We're on autopilot, just going through the motions. But the good news is, there is an antidote. The opposite brainwave pattern is flow, the only time where your brain produces all 5 neurochemicals of happiness. And better yet, you can teach yourself to prime your brain for more flow in your work-life masterpiece. In my course, Catalyst Reclamation, I teach you my 3-step AHA method so you can practice finding more moments of flow. And when you do, you increase your happiness, your well-being, you lower your cortisol, and you flourish as the catalyst that you are, transforming healthcare. So come color outside the lines with me and go to drlaurasalyer.com/shop and check out the 10-hour AMA-approved CME course, Catalyst Reclamation, so that you can step into your highest creative power. First, and you can do this with me if you're listening, step 1, take a deep breath. And as you're inhaling, imagine that you're just inhaling wisdom and ease into the deep recesses of all the corners of your body. You're aerating that meat suit. You're sucking in all that wisdom, that light. Step 2, you exhale, and with that, you're exhaling cobwebs and doubt and fear and confusion so that you are left with just equanimity and balance. And you feel this quiet solitude of confidence. Step 3, you just ask, where is the path to joy? Which is the easiest way to find that joy? Where do I run towards joy? Literally. That's it. Simple. Just using that. Where is joy in this scenario? If joy doesn't feel right to you, because words can be sticky, use words like ease, lightness, or love, or where am I being drawn? Because what you're trying to do is wake up that intuition. It's there. You're trying to give it permission to bubble up from the bottom. And the last step 4 is listen to that intuitive response, even if it doesn't make sense, right? Just listen without judgment and see where it helps you lean towards. I would like to add a step 5, but really it's only 4 steps and you've got it right there. Step 5 to me would be, don't argue with it, right? Because we've all done that. You might feel that intuition and you give permission for it to be, vocalized. And then we immediately argue with it. Well, yeah, but it would be better if I just obligatorily said yes, or I'll complete this project, or I'll say yes now. And, and then you make these, negotiations with your intuition, and see, your beautiful creative muse inside needs to be spoken. Kids don't ask permission for this. They're very intuitive. They're all bottom-up processing, right? So remember, let's review. First, you take a deep breath in, and visualizing is important. You want to visualize you're breathing in wisdom and ease and light, your higher self. You're inhaling that. Step 2 is exhaling that fear, doubt, and confusion so that you're left with this calm equanimity. Step 3, you ask, which is the path towards joy? Where do I run towards ease? And then the 4th is listen, what comes up? You can get used to doing this and it can take an instant. And you start to become more confident as you look back in hindsight at all the ways that this process doesn't lead you astray. Now, granted, you can't run away from folding laundry, or, if you're signing up for a marathon, you can't always say, well, this is kind of hard. Easy would be sitting on the couch. And that's not what we're saying here. This is not choosing an easy path because it's easy. We're talking about what intuitively pulls you forward. If you are signing up for a marathon, you're intuitively pulled towards that future vision of you passing that finishing line with glee and joy. And that's the path to joy. So you would likely say, okay, it isn't easy, but that is my path to joy. And I do want that visualized future. So practicing this quiet compass is amazing, but there are other ways that you can strengthen this even more, such as a body scan. In between patient visits, scan your body. Just go head to toe. How does my head feel? How does my scalp feel? How do my eyeballs feel? How does my throat feel? Can I relax my tongue? How do my shoulders feel? Can I drop them? How does my chest, my lungs, my heart, my stomach, and go all the way down? Just by visualizing and attuning into each of these systems, you are lowering cortisol. You are really reconnecting with that vagus nerve. You're opening up and training up that interoception that we so often neglect in a healthcare career. Journaling is also another way to expound on this quiet compass technique. Write down what you're finding. Over time, you see trends. Maybe certain decisions are a little harder to tap into your intuition, right? Maybe it's a financial decision or a calendar decision or a kid decision, and noticing trends that, it was harder for myself to use that quiet compass technique can give you opportunities to be curious and explore why, and maybe dive deeper into that. But when you do this every day, that's the biggest thing I can say is practicing this day in and day out and encouraging your friends to do this as well, giving the power back to them to connect back into intuition, and your patients, giving them that power, that limbic system integration, interoception, that bottom-up processing is amazingly helpful. It helps us make better, faster decisions. There was a study by Ambody in 2002 that said that decisions are easier to come by compared to those that rely on analytical thinking, that you will make better decisions. We're just taught not to trust this because it's not measurable, right? Much easier to have a pros and cons list that you can rate and calibrate than just saying, it just felt right in my body. I'd say now we're advocating, it just feels right. Kids will tell you that. And the takeaway of this whole episode is trust. Trust and surrender to your body's signals. Learn to decipher the dashboard of your body and where emotions live by practicing that 5-second quiet compass, which let's review. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Ask that question where joy is, and then pause and listen. That's it. That's really all it is. And the more you do that, the more you'll feel that you can access such a different, more wise part of your body and your mind and your soul to make better decisions. And thank you again for coloring outside the lines and practicing that 6th vital sign of creativity. Until next time, I hope you use this quiet compass and let me know how it goes. Drop a comment in our social media channels. I'm so curious if this worked for you. Have a great day.